So, continuing on, this is the second part to the video I did entitled "Who Are the Peoples of Iran?" And I read some ancient history about who the people were. I brought out, just to recap, I brought out what that name Elam meant. That it comes from the Hebrew word Ayalama, which means young. Um, I brought out that the Elamite people are Shemitic. Okay, they come. Elam was the firstborn of Shem, but they were not Hebrew because they did not come from Eber, and Eber was part of that chosen line, beginning with our Faxad, right? Which Arphaxad, I believe, was the fourth born of Shem, and the Hebrew peoples are those who came out of um, Eber, and the word Eber in Hebrew is Ibar, which means Hebrew. His father, I believe, his father was. Let's go there to the table of nations real quick. I believe his father was Peleg, and Peleg was the one who lived during the time of the Tower of Babel when the Lord confounded the languages of the nations. Okay, but in the beginning, all people spoke the same language. Uh, and I'm going to read that as well. When you go to read the book of Genesis, the 11th chapter, and the first verse, it tells you that. But let's go back to just to be. I don't want to wing it, so give me a second. Okay, yeah. So I stand. See, this is why it's good to get into the history and the stories, so that I'm a little rusty. Shame on me. This shows me I gotta get back into the history and the stories. But this is Genesis, the 10th chapter, and the 21st verse. Right? It says, "Unto Shem also the fi-" And why am I reading this about Elam and who they are, and that the Iranians they're really the Elamites, and they had the Persian kingdom, because all nations that are in the Bible are alive today, and we are to know exactly who are all the peoples that are on the planet Earth today, including ourselves. Okay, we are the Shemitic Hebrew Israelites. Okay, the so-called white people, they are the Shemitic Hebrew Edomites. Okay, and so on and so forth. All right, the majority of the people of Africa, okay, are the people of Ham, of whichever sons of Ham they come out of, because not all Hamites are the same. So this is good to know. You know what I'm saying? I mean, knowing this, is that gonna save you and put you on those ships? No, but the scripture does say in Apocrypha to know thy enemy. Knowing who the so-called white man is and going back into history and what they did to us, that helps us out a great deal, to know our enemy, who they are, man, and to know every little bit about them. If you are in a fighting competition, okay, whether it's boxing, MMA, some kind of jiu-jitsu or whatever, you want to get to know your opponent. You want to know what he's capable of. All right, you want to know what makes him tick and what makes him talk. You want to know how, when he won his competitions with his enemies or opponents, how did he do it? What are his strengths? What are his weaknesses? You want to know their background, their opponent's background. You want to know all this stuff, man. Okay, because it's the makeup of that person, of that, of your enemy, of your opponent. Okay, the characteristics. Not all nations have the same characteristics. Now, I want to jump to let me see. 24th verse, right? It says, and Arphaxad, that was the chosen line. From our Arphaxad chose that line, and out of that line came out Abraham, our forefather. Okay, our first forefather of the promise. All right, and the Lord gave him the blessing. And that blessing passed down to Isaac, and from Isaac it passed down to Jacob, and from Jacob it passed down to the 12 tribes. And that's good to know. So verse 24, and Arphaxad begot Salah, and Salah begot Eber. Okay, so Eber, I'm sorry, like I said, I correct myself. Eber is the father of Peleg. I said Peleg was Eber's father, so I said it in reverse. It says, and Arphaxad begot Salah, and Salah begot Eber, and unto Eber were born 2 sons. The name of one was Peleg. All right, for in his days was the earth divided. So during Peleg's time, the earth was divided, meaning the nations, they were all divided because at one point they all spoke the same language. They all understood each other and stuff, okay? Until the Lord came and brought confusion to the peoples, to the nations that were trying to build the Tower of Babel, which was an ancient new world order. All right, having all people as one. The Lord ain't with that. The same thing the Edomites are trying to do today. And the Lord smote the language and split it up, and that's the origins of the different languages that you have on the earth today, and their mutations, right? It says, and unto Eber were born 2 sons. The name of one was Peleg, for in his days was the earth divided, and his brother's name was Joktan. Now I'm gonna skip to the 31st verse. It says, these are the sons of Shem after their families, and after their tongues, in their lands, after their nations. So the Lord divided and separated the nations. Okay? Now, if the Lord was all about all the nations being one, then he wouldn't have done this. But he did this. All right? It was his purpose to do this. His will. Verse 32. These are the families of the sons of Noah after their generations in their nations, and by these were the nations divided in the earth after the flood. Divided, not integrated, right? So what happened to these nations? Where are they today? Well, we're reading about one now. The Elamites, okay? Who today they are known as the Iranians. All the nations, man, are on this earth still, that go back to post flood times, right? After the flood, okay? So through the spirit of Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shah Ba'ashem Rakakwadash, we have found out who the nations are. All right. Now I want to go to Genesis the 11th chapter. Genesis chapter 11 verse 1. It says, the whole earth was of one language. That's the point I was trying to make. And of one speech. And it came to pass as they journeyed from the east that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. And they said one to another, Go to, let us make brick and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone, and slime had they for mortar. And they said, Go to, let us build us a city and a tower, whose top may reach unto heaven. And that's your first skyscraper. Now, in this area, these people were known to build what were called ziggurats. And I got pictures to show you. It says, And let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth. And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the children of men builded, meaning the heathen, right? And the Lord said, Behold, the people is one, and they have all one language. And this they begin to do, and now nothing will be restrained from them, which they have imagined to do. Go to, let us go down. That's talking about Yahweh Shine the angels, right? And there confound their language, meaning split their languages up, that they may not understand one another's speech. So the Lord scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of all the earth, because it wasn't the Most High's purpose for all nations to be as one. All right. The Most High believes in diversification. Okay. Not integration and a one world order. And that's what Esau is trying to do today. They're trying to recreate this great tower. All right, they're trying to do this by way of this new world order. All right, and by having these smart cities and the Internet of Things. All right, the Internet of Things is nothing but this. All right, they're trying to build a smart tower, so to speak, man, where everyone is in the how is it? There's clarity, so that the government could know everyone's exact move, and they could control everything and be like the Most High. Okay. And it says, verse 8, So the Lord scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of all the earth, and they left off to build the city. And so they didn't build the city anymore. They left off from doing that. It says, therefore is the name of it called Babel, right? Because the Hebrew word for Babel is Babal, which means confusion. And the confusion was that they could not understand each other anymore, because they were all speaking different languages. Because the Lord did there confound the language of all the earth, and the language of all the earth there was one, and it was the Lashon Kodash, all right, the holy tongue. And from thence did the Lord scatter them abroad upon the face of all the earth. But the ones who knew that language still, that kept that same language, was Ibar, which means from the past. Okay, and what was from the past? The original language of all the earth. All right. And that was it on that. I just want to bring out some pictures of those towers that they used to build, which the Elamites and the Babylonians, and they had another people called the Akkadians. They all had like a similar culture, and they kind of they worshiped the same gods and goddesses, and their architecture was kind of the same, and they had kind of the same style of cuneiform writings and stuff. Give me a second. Okay, and this is a picture of a cigarette, I believe they call them. And this is from the Cambridge University Press. The same people, I believe, who print out our apocryphers that we, the red apocryphers that we have, that we use. And this is the style and architecture of the ancient Elamite peoples, and they were your ancient skyscrapers, man. Okay, except these heathens, way back then, they were trying to build one that was far big, taller, and greater. And they probably would have been successful had not the Most High, Yahweh Bashem, and the angels disappointed their what they were trying to do. Okay, so that's what more than likely what the Tower of Babel looked like, except probably uh, greater, bigger, taller. Okay, and they wanted all the pretty much they wanted to make a central location for for all their social activities, and to carry out their governmental business, and civil affairs and what have you. But the Lord wasn't with it. The Lord said, nah, I'm gonna confound all these heathens. uh, I'm gonna upset their plans, and I'm gonna confuse them by giving each and every one of them different languages so that they can't understand each other, right? And then that's what happened, man. You know, and like I said, this was after the flood, you know. So, and the Lord already had finished destroying the world because it became wicked, right? So he was like, man, look what these people are doing, man. So the Lord was like, was like, look, I already, the Lord already gave the promise to Noah that he won't destroy the world again by way of water. So, he gave him the symbol of the rainbow. So he said, look, let's just confuse them by changing their languages or whatever, man. So anyway, these people of Elam, they are enemies to us, the Israelites. Okay, they are not guiltless. All right, they had us in slavery at one point. All right, when they became the Persians, and when we were trying to build our temple for the second time, rebuild our temple for a second time, they were one of the people that were trying to stop us, man, from building. Okay, and we could look that up as well. And we could read we could read Ezra in the Bible from the first verse all the way down to the 9th verse, right? And it reads, now when the adversaries, which are the adversaries, another word for adversaries is devils, right? I'm sorry, not devils means deceivers. Satan is another word for adversary, right? So when the adversaries of Judah and Benjamin heard that the children of the captivity builded the temple unto the Lord power of Israel, they came to Zerubbabel and to the chief of the fathers, and said unto them, let us build with you, for we seek your power as ye do. And they were a bunch of fucking liars, because they were worshiping their own gods. And we do sacrifice unto him since the days of Asarhaddon, king of Ashur, which brought us up hither. But Zerubbabel and Joshua and the rest of the chief of the fathers of Israel said unto them, ye have But Zerubbabel and Joshua and the rest, as Joshua the high priest, and the rest of the chief of the fathers of Israel said unto them, ye have nothing to do with us to build an house unto our power, but we ourselves together will build unto the Lord power of Israel, as King Cyrus, the king of Persia, hath commanded. Yeah, the king of Persia, because they had us in, that we were tributaries unto them, man. So in the kingdom, they're going to be under our feet, man. They're going to be our slaves as well. But Zerubbabel and Joshua and the rest of the chief of the fathers of Israel said unto them, Ye have nothing to do with us to build an house unto our power, but we ourselves together will build unto the Lord power of it. That sounds racist to me. That sounds uh, uh, like some nationalist stuff to me, because it is. The heathen, the other nations have nothing to do with us, man. But we ourselves together will build unto the Lord power of Israel, as King Cyrus, the king of Persia, hath commanded us. Then the people of the land weakened the nations of the people of Judah and troubled them in building. Okay, they're going to pay for that in the kingdom, man. All right, it says, and hired counselors against them to frustrate the purpose all the days of Cyrus, king of Persia, even until the reign of Darius, king of Persia. And in the reign of Ahasuerus, in the beginning of his reign, wrote they unto him an accusation against the inhabitants of Judah and Jerusalem. And in the days of Artaxerxes wrote Bishlam, Mithridath, Tabeel, and the rest of their companions unto Artaxerxes, king of Persia, and the writing of the letter was written in the Syrian tongue, and interpreted in the Syrian tongue. Rehum the chancellor and Shimshai the scribe wrote a letter against Jerusalem to Artaxerxes the king in this sort. Then wrote Rehum the chancellor and Shimshai the scribe and the rest of their companions, the Danites and the Arphaxadites, the Tarpolites and the Arpharsites, the Archavites, the Babylonians, and the Susanchites, the Dahavites, and the Elamites. You see? The Elamites, they were a part of those damn heathens, man. They were trying to stop us. Okay? So, as you know, I'm at work, and there will be a part 3 to this. It's just so much history, man. All right, so with that, I'm gonna end it here, end this section, this part here, and continue with a part 3. Shalom.